Welcome back to the program. Time now to talk politics. I'm joined by two Democrats running for Congress. It turns out they are both educators as well. We have Paul Spencer, who is challenging French Hill in the 2nd Congressional District, and newly announced 4th District Democrat Hayden Shamel. Thank you both for being here. You're from Hot Springs.
I am.
Great to have you both with us. We have not had two Democrats sitting in a chair on this in a couple of election cycles, so congratulations to you guys for getting in there. Hayden, you're new to the political circus, so I want you to tell me and to tell viewers what has caused you to jump into the foray this year.
Well, I'm not as new as you might think. I've been involved in politics since 2013, and now's the time. I truly believe that. I believe that Arkansas voters are looking for real solutions to real problems that they have, and that's the reason that I entered this race at this time. I think it's time for us to have someone who can present solutions to the problems that people are facing.
What are some of those problems that you think are out there?
Well, there are 3 problems that I see that voters tend to talk to me about on a consistent basis. First of all, it's health care. One of the things that I'd like to focus on is making certain that prescription medication costs are driven down, because it seems like everywhere we go, anybody who is prescribed a prescription medication and goes to pick that up at the pharmacy, the cost is absolutely outrageous. And that's not fair to Arkansas families. The other issue that I'd like to focus on is education, making certain that students all across Arkansas, regardless of where they're from, whether they're from a rural school district or if they're from a larger, more populated area like Hot Springs or Little Rock or Texarkana, that all students get the right to a superior education.
And issue 3?
And then the final issue is jobs, and that is the most important. It's paramount. We've got to make certain that our people have jobs that they can count on, and not just that, but an income that they can live on. And those are the 3 things that I'd like to focus on. And I'm running for Congress to make certain that those things happen.
All right, Paul, you've been out on the campaign trail for a few months now, and you've been talking to a lot of voters. What are some of the issues that they're bringing up to you most often?
Of course, the issue of insurance is a big one. We've been going out to the rural counties quite a bit, White, Van Buren and so forth, and we're hearing the same thing over and over again. They don't feel that they're being adequately represented with regards to the tax policy that's underway now or the insurance policies that have been pushed up by the House and the Senate that have been knocked down, but they're very concerned about the future of their health care primarily.
This past week, there were some elections across the U.S. I think Virginia drew the most attention because of the fact that it's been considered a purple state. It went very blue on election night. I kind of wanted to get your interpretation of these results. Hayden, I'll come to you first on this. Was this a rejection of Donald Trump? Was this a rejection of GOP controlling all levers of government? Or was this a failure maybe by the GOP to not accomplish anything significant this year? What do you think was driving voter attitudes?
Well, I definitely think that voters are looking for people who are focused on them and their best interest. And I think that it's time that we show people that we are the party, the Democratic Party is a party that cares about people and that is ready to listen to voters and what they need and open and receptive to helping people, to helping them get ahead no matter where they are. And I think that's important, especially in terms of the economy and in terms of jobs. Not only do we need to be focused on creating new jobs, but we also need to be focused on allowing people to get out of their existing position and to get ahead. And so again, I think the most important thing that the Democratic Party is focused on right now is making certain that people get ahead from wherever they are. And I think that the results from Tuesday night show overwhelmingly that America is ready for change. And we just haven't seen that change that they expected under this current administration. You know, I mean, people wanted change. That's the reason that they voted in the current administration, but we just haven't seen those results. And so now is really an opportunity for the Democratic Party to show that we care about people and that we want them to get ahead.
So if it was about not making the changes that were promised, did Virginia, to you, Paul, did it seem like people were rejecting the inaction by Congress, or that they were rejecting what Congress has tried to do and failed?
I think both, and I also think that it's kind of you have the progressive wing of the Democratic Party is the big side that made the biggest gains, it seems like, in this last election the other day. And you have people that were running, much like Hayden, who are non-traditional candidates and regular people.
You qualify as a non-traditional candidate too, bud. So you're a first-timer like yourself.
Absolutely.
So.
But I think that when you look at the categories those folks came from, it's just a breath of fresh air, and the establishment seems to be being pushed back a little bit by these types of elections, and I think that's going to bode well for the Democrats in the future.
Do you feel like this has given your campaign some momentum? What's been the experience since Tuesday of this week with some of your supporters and people you've talked to?
It's been very positive. My caution always is when you have something like this is we don't become complacent. A lot of times when you look at social media especially, the tendency is to over-trump it. So I think that I want to be pretty guarded with making a blanket statement right now of how positive this is going to be. But I think the polls in recent days and the overall trend since we announced in July has been very favorable.
That's a good use of the word over Trump there too. How was that one? Sneak that one in on us there, didn't you, Hayden? So tell me, what about you? You got in on Saturday. The election results came in on Tuesday. Was there an infusion or an enthusiasm kind of bump from that?
Well, I would say that we've seen overwhelming support, just tremendous support, and I'm so thankful for that support. But I would agree with what Paul said, that this is going to take a lot of work. And again, it's going to take us reaching out to people and making certain that they know that we are open to their ideas. And now is the time for us to have representatives that truly listen and that care about individuals. And I think that now is that time. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of the process. I'm looking forward to what the next year holds. I can't wait to meet voters all over the 4th District. The ones that I've met so far are thrilled. And I'm just so glad to be here.
All right, let's take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back and talk some specific issues, and we're going to drag a little bit of results from the Arkansas poll that came out this week too. Hayden, Paul, we'll be back right after this.
Fantastic.
I'm Roby Brock. Right after this word from our sponsors, we'll be back. Welcome back to the program. I'm Roby Brock. We're joined by 2 Democrats running for Congress this year, Hayden Shamel and Paul Spencer, 4th District, 2nd District, respectively there. We're going to do these in quick, concise fashion here. I want to talk about y'all's positions on a couple of issues, some things that came out in the Arkansas poll, some things that are just high topics of conversation, things we've already talked about a little bit. Let's begin with guns and gun control. 38% of Arkansans favor stricter gun laws in the latest Arkansas poll. That is up from 31% just a year ago. Hayden, do we need more restrictions on gun ownership in this country?
Well, first, I'd like to say that I'm a proud gun owner, and I will always protect our right to bear arms. But I want to say this too. Over the course of the past several years, one after another, we have seen such tragedy. From children to churches, we continuously see that guns are entering into places where we never would have expected them before. So what I do want to point out is that it is possible to have a union of not only protecting the right to bear arms, but also putting forth common sense gun measures that can help protect people, that can help prevent accidents and help deter crime. And I believe one of those measures is by implementing universal background checks. And I think that that's something that the American public overwhelmingly supports.
I've seen that in some poll data for sure. What about you, Paul? Do we need more restrictions on gun ownership?
Well, a lot of the folks that I've been speaking to over the past several months, gun ownership is a very important thing in a rural state like Arkansas. And I think the thing that, particularly since Las Vegas, that has really been shocking to a lot of people are the accessories like the bump stocks and gat cranks and things like that. And they pretty much are amiable to having those sorts of things more vigorously regulated. I was a little disappointed after the Las Vegas shooting, because then you have the people willing to talk about the bump stock issue and so forth. Congress was looking for a legislative fix. The NRA came out and said, let's run this through the executive branch, and almost opened the door a little bit to allow that to happen. But it was slammed very quickly without anything really happening from that. I think a lot of folks are ready for these types of accessories and to be regulated a lot more intelligently. I didn't even know those things existed until this.
Right. All right, I'm going to stay with you, Paul, on this. Let's talk tax reform. There's some competing GOP tax plans out there. The Senate revealed their version this week. It's different than the House version there. But in general, you're looking at a cut in corporate tax rates. You're looking at removing some deductions, altering some of the individual brackets in there. I guess my question to you is, do you agree with anything in any of these plans, or do you think something else needs to be done in terms of tax reform, or do you think the status quo is okay?
I've always believed that the tax policies that we've had favored the corporations and the super wealthy in this country. It allows, when you give tax breaks to the billionaires and the donor class and so forth, what they typically do, instead of going out and buying a new washer and dryer that stimulates the economy, they reinvest it in Congress and get more tax legislation that affects them positively. So I don't see this new tax proposal, either of them out of the House or the Senate, as being anything that's going to help everybody. They were touted as tax
You want to see
breaks for
some more
everybody.
stuff toward the middle class, though, is where you would like to see some tax cuts, I guess is where I'm asking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And the fact that you raise the lower, from the House at least, the lowest tax bracket from 10 to 12%, I thought that's not going to help that lowest group of people.
What about you, Hayden?
What I think is the saddest thing about this situation is that what's happening is we are disguising what's really going on. We are rewarding corporations on the backs of working class families. And we have to be focused on putting Arkansas families first, and families first all over the country for that matter. And this tax plan puts corporations first, puts the wealthiest of the wealthy first. This estate tax that we're talking about, that's $5.5 million. And I don't know anybody, I don't know about you two, who has that kind of money. I'm a hard-working individual, just like I know that you are. And my husband and I are in education. That's our background. We're not independently wealthy. And that's the case for the voters all across the 4th District. So when we put forth a tax plan, what we need to be doing is focusing on real people, people like you and people like me, people who can truly benefit, and not the corporations. We need to be focused on people, not profits.
I will say that while there are some corporate tax breaks in there, we have done some analysis on how different levels of individuals will be impacted based on income. It's on our website at talkbusiness.net, and there is some relief for some small, lower and middle income folks in there. It's not as big. It's $600, $300, $900, which is still relief, but not as much as you could probably do something with.
And the way
Sure,
this is
the-
being touted, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the very first line on the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette front page story on Tuesday was that by 2024 we're going to see our taxes go up. And when I
That's
say
fake news
we,
now, come on. Hayden. No, I'm kidding. So joking. No, I know what you're saying. So, but there is a lot more moving there. All right, let's talk healthcare. Number 2 on the list of the most important issues among Arkansans. The economy was number 1. Hayden, I'll come to you first on this. Should we fix parts of the Affordable Care Act, or do you support Medicare for all, or doing something more aggressive on health care?
I think that we need to take the existing system and improve it. So what that means is, number 1, for me, driving down the cost of those prescription medications. And I come back to that because, again, that's what I hear over and over again from our voters. They need to be able to afford their medication. And that's where I'd like to focus on. That's where I'd like to start, is making certain that when you go to a pharmacy, you can afford to pay for those costs out of pocket, and that you're not hurting to have to pay for prescription medications that your kids need, that they have to have.
Your stance on health care, Paul?
I agree with Hayden that the current system needs to be fixed for right now, but ultimately I'd like to see us move towards a Medicare for all system. I think that's the wave of the future. As we always say, we're the only industrialized world that doesn't believe that people should have universal health care coverage in a single payer system.
And can I chime in? You're
Sure.
exactly right. Healthcare is a fundamental human right. And
Absolutely.
countless other countries have gotten this right. And it's time for the United States to do the same.
Absolutely.
You guys have your work cut out for you. You're going to be taking on 2 well-funded incumbents who have a little bit of political experience, but I wish you the best. And I expect to have you both back on the program between now and Election Day. Hayden, Paul, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
All right. And that is all for today's Talk Business and Politics. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.